Monday, September 3rd, main Praga. Cross is a symbol of that something's holy, or that sort of thing. A true and faithful relation what passed for many years between Dr. John Dee and some spirits, 1659, according to Meric Casaubon. So if there's any errors between this and the Cotton manuscript, that's of course his fault. He said, Nota Sathana astutum eo violentem stratagema. Oh, stratagem. No? Okay. I thought for a second it was the AE thing. In the Bible, it says Shathan, continual scourge. But it's been rendered as adversary so long that people think that must be a misspelling. The Bible must have 13 misspellings, right? Tanakh must have 13 misspellings. But I think a lot of these claims of misspellings are intentional, that they spell it that way for a reason, because everything in Semitic languages has, particular meaning. Dee said, there was a great disquietness in Edward Kelly, being come home from our host's house, where he had been lying all night upon a form, by reason he had been, which he never was the like afore, as he said, with wine overcome suddenly, yet intending with himself to take heed of being overshot in drinking of wine, being requested by the hosts to give her a quart of wine upon the good bargain he had in a clock. He bought of her for 5 succats. In the company of drinking was Alexander, the Lord Lasky, his servant, who came with us to Prague, unto whom Edward Kelly, when the drink on the sudden had overcome him, said he would cut off his head, and with his walking staff did touch him fair and softly on the neck, sitting before him. This Alexander, being half drunken himself, by and by took those words in great snuff, and went to defend himself, and so took his weapon to him, and thereupon, by caused Alexander to go down. It was supper time, and that night refrained to sup, and so tarrying at my lodging, and looking out, saw Alexander sitting on the great stone against our lodging. I called to him, and told him that they were at supper, and he came over to me, and he had wept much, and complained of Edward Kelly, his former words, and the touch of his staff, how it was against his credit to take that in good part, and spake many soldiers' terms of stout words, not worthy the recording. I thereupon went to our host's house, and would understand the very truth, and there I found Edward Kelly fast on sleep, on a form most soundly, for which I was right sorry, and yet better pleased to perceive the words of Edward Kelly, which so moved Alexander, being half drunken, to have been spoken by Edward Kelly, when wine and not wit bear rule, and so pleaded long time with Alexander, that of words spoken, so as they were, no such exact account was to be given to him, and so on. And after 2 hours, persuasion caused Alexander to go to bed in our lodging, which he used to lie, for he would have gone out to our former inn, in those raging half-drunken pains he was in, which I thought not good. This Monday morning, Edward Kelly coming home and seeing Alexander as he came in, he said, they tell I should have spoken words which greatly offended thee yesternight, and that I touched thee with my staff, and so on. I know nothing of it, and shook hands friendly with Alexander. Well saith Alexander, si fuisset alias, and so on. Edward Kelly came up to me, I told him how sorry I was for this mischance, and told him of the watchman perceiving Alexander his disquiet mind, and hearing his words, they came to me and charged me to have a cart of to have a care of the peacekeeping, as they did intend, and farther said that Alexander in his rage said that rather or before he should cut off his head, that he would cut Edward Kelly in pieces. So soon as I had expressed that word of this drunken Alexander likewise, whom I now saw quiet, and Edward Kelly also quiet, suddenly Edward Kelly fell into such a rage that he would be revenged of him for so saying, and for railing on him in the street as he did, and so on. Much as I do, Americus and his brother had to stop or hold him from going to Alexander with his weapon, and so on. At length we let him go in his doublet and his whole, without a cap or hat on his head, and into the street he hasted with his brother's rapier drawn, and challenged Alexander fight, but Alexander went from him and said, Nolo Domini Kelai Nolo. Hereupon Edward Kelly took up a stone and threw it after him as after a dog, and so came into the house again in a most furious rage, that he might not fight with Alexander. The rage and house again in a most furious rage for the rage and fury was so great in words and gestures as might plainly prove that the wicked enemy sought either Edward Kelly, his own destroying of himself, or of me, or his brother, and so on. And in the margin, Satan, his exceeding vehement temptation, and to the next, note the cause of this recording. He continues the account. This may suffice to notify the mighty temptation and vehement working of the subtle spiritual enemy Satan, wherewith God suffered Edward Kelly to be tempted and almost overcome, to my great discomfort and most great discredit, if it should, as the truth was, have come to the emperor's understanding, except he had known me well, and so on. I was in great doubt how God would take this offense, and devise with myself how I might, with honesty, be cleared from the shame and danger that might arise if these two should fight, and so on. At the least, it would cross all good hope here with the emperor, and so on, for a time, till God redressed it. And in the margin, 1, comfort in time of need, 2, more comfort in time of need. After I had brought Edward Kelly to some quietness by yielding much to his honor, and so on, and saying little, not long after came a messenger from my wife at Cracovia, and Hugh, my servant, with him, to my great comfort, through her letters, and the full satisfying of me by Hugh, my servant, his knowledge farther than conveniently could be written, about 2 o'clock afternoon, and by noon they mean, the midpoint of the day. They don't mean this daylight savings time or they don't mean the time zone thing or anything, I don't think. But anyways, came this letter to me of the emperor, his sending for me. Nobilis praeclamisic domin observandissime. And in the margin to all this, because I'm not going to finish this whole thing here, Rod, note the original letter is itself in this book. Oh, wait. I'll just say this. Casar jum significavit domino legato Hispaniarum hero meo ut dominationem vestram mead se evocaret ad horum secundam qua eam adir cuperet dominatio vestra si ad dictam horum venire pateret accedet statum dominum octavium spinolum que voluptate sua casaria a stabilis eo cubiculis is inem eam ad majestatem suam introducet, quod reliquum est mede vestra quam officiosissime etiam etec etiam commendo dominationes vestra studiosissimas Arnoldus Vender Buxa. And